or was this still run-of-the-mill?
Well, it's still the same, because what happens, I think we played Tuesday, so you had Wednesday off. And then, like, each coach has an assignment, a scouting report, so every third game. So that assistant coach had already been working on it. Then once, after Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, you start breaking down film, but we were off Wednesday. So that's where it started, probably, at least for me, Wednesday morning.
Obviously, all the talk about this is just the rivalry coming back, but with nobody in your program that's been involved in this, do you lean into that at all, bring in anybody to talk about it, or do you try to tell the guys this is another game?
Well, again, and you guys heard me say it 1,000 times, even with rivals and bragging rights game, it's a game on the floor, but it's more than that. I mean, because the fans, the energy, everything around it makes that. I don't know if it necessarily means anything if nobody in the program has been in it. I've been in high-level games. I understand from high school on, I've been in high-level games, rivalries, atmospheres, and all that. Have assistant coaches have been in games. These guys have been in high school games like this. Obviously, it's a different level game. This is one of the top 5 games historically that you'll see, and I'm glad to have it back. So they'll feel whatever that is in that game. And, but I think you have to embrace it, because it's a historical game. You're playing the game. Yeah, it's just basketball, but it's also history. You're also talking about one of the best venues in the country. Playing a college basketball game. So all of that matters. I mean, but again, once the ball is tipped, it's simply basketball at that point. But you have to enjoy everything that comes with it. I remember my times in playing in certain venues when I was a college player. I mean, it's what it is. You have to enjoy it. But as a ball player, you soak it in for whatever time you need to soak it in, and then it's the task at hand.
But in kind of terms of the history of the rivalry and stuff like that, I know Kansas has brought in former players and kind of watched games. I mean, have you guys done anything like that?
Yeah, we've done some things, and we have some things. Yes. So, yes.
Could you share what some of those are?
We've had former players, past, present. We have different things, videos, all of that. Yes.
What's
Yes,
it
we
been like
have.
for you learning, kind of more about that rivalry?
Well, I've already known about it. When you're a student, you watch college basketball as a youth coming up, and again, one of my favorite players coming up was Danny Manning. I enjoy. I mean, everybody probably like Danny at 6'10", a guy that could handle the ball and make plays. I mean, so he's one of my favorite players. Growing up, so I always admired him. I always had a lot of respect for, when I was a college player, Roy Williams. We played those guys. Bill has done a tremendous job. One of my good friends, Steve Woodbury, played there. So, if you understand basketball, you know what it is. I've always admired Larry Brown. He's the coach there. But it's business now. I mean, that part, I enjoyed that as a youth, but it's business now.
Was there any part of a player being at Purdue when you guys played IU that you kind of, related to playing in this type of game here?
Same thing. The same thing, high level, great atmosphere. The fans are making you hope there's every seat filled, everything outside filled, every restaurant filled. You want all that. And that's what this rivalry is supposed to bring. You want all of that. So everybody's talking about it for a long time until you play it again.
For a lot of these guys, because of last year reduced capacity everywhere, it's going to be the first time they've played in front of a crowd like this. I know you guys played at Liberty, but is there any adjustment?
So it's nothing like this one, huh?
I think there were fewer people.
Well, I hope it's what it's supposed to be. That's what I hope for. At least I would beg for that as a ball player. I want it to be whatever you have. I want your best shot.
Coach, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but what does it mean for you, the players, the fans, just to have this rivalry back?
Hopefully the same thing it means for their fans. It's a game that should be played. It's the same level of respect. It's no different, no higher, it's the same level. Yeah.
Cuonzo, when they decided a couple years ago to start this again, did you go to Jim? Jim come to you? Did Bill reach out to you, or do you remember just first you heard of it?
I know Jim and I talked about it, and I think Jim, and again, I'm not 100%, I think Jim had a relationship with their AD, if I'm not mistaken. That's how it kind of started there, and it just went from there. But I said we can make it happen, yes.
As far as just their talent and what they do, what do you see out of this team as far as kind of how it compares to what Kansas and what Bill have had the last
I think they're a good team, and I think you have 4 of your top 5 leading scorers returning. You have a lot of guys returning, so that helps. And then you add a guy like Remy Martin, an all-league guy. might have been a Pac-12 Player of the Year. I know he's probably preseason here and there. And I watched him when I was in California as a high school kid. You knew he was fast. You knew he was talented. So when you add an addition like that to your program, it just really enhances you because he's fast. He can make shots. He can make plays. He's one of those guys that loves to play under the lights. When the atmosphere, when the stakes are high, he shines in those level of games. Obaji is just you talking about the transformation of a basketball player from the time he stepped on campus to now. He's turned himself into a high-level, pro prospect, no doubt about it, because he can shoot the ball. He was already an athlete. Now you're shooting the ball at 45% clip from three. That's impressive. And then Brown plays a high-level brand of basketball, slicing, cutting, shooting the ball, driving, getting in transition, rebounding. To me, though Harris does a great job at the point guard position, I think Brown is more of the quarterback, in my opinion, as you watch how they navigate and flow. It seems like they have to have him on the floor at all times because of what he brings to the table.
Speaking of DeJuan Harris, I know he's a local kid. Was he ever kind of on your radar when
Yes.
when he was at Rockbridge? And then how have you seen him grow? And I know he's committed to Missouri State for a while,
Yes.
but kind of went to camp
Yes.
there at the end. Just what's your kind of interaction with him there?
Same play he was in high school, talented player. He's matured. The one thing I would say about him, and if you've talked to him, he's a humble young man, tough as nails, but probably the great example of what it means to play your role at a high level. I mean, here's a guy I think can score the ball and get to the lane and make plays, but he does a tremendous job of facilitating, getting his teammates involved, and he's okay with that. And that's, in today's society with young men, that is a hard thing to grasp, but he embraces that role well. He's an elite, in my opinion, elite defender, and he loves to facilitate, make plays for his teammates, and he's a guy I would have loved to play with. Yeah.
Cuonzo, they're so efficient offensively. Is it a lot of stuff in the paint?
They operate in the paint. They
'Cause
operate in
don't
the
shoot a
paint.
lot of threes.
They shoot threes when they open, but they trying to operate in the paint. A lot of movement, but the key is to get downhill. So when they shooting threes, but you're talking about 40, 50 points in the paint. So when they shoot threes, they're wide open threes because of the damage that they're doing on the interior. But again, it's when you're talented, something has to give because they can make plays, they can make shots, guys can get downhill. They got a low post, guys, very physical, tough. So you have to identify that. Then they can go to a point where they have 5 perimeter guys that all can make shots and Mitch Lightfoot. Mitch's been around for a while, but he's a talented player, understands his role, and does whatever it takes to win.
What do you remember just from that, exhibition game you guys did and kind of the environment, just, fans getting into that?
Great energy,
that sort of
great
thing?
energy. I mean, I just think, as a player, you always hope to be in games when you just subtle things and things that you notice as you continue to navigate through this from a player and a coach, and you get older. Just on the bus ride to the game, the energy, the fans, the people, the school colors. I'm a ball player. I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that stage, that atmosphere, and I think that's what I noticed more than anything. Then when you get into the arena, it was electric. And as ball players, if you get a chance of playing games like that every year, it's a special thing to be a part of because it's history and it's something to talk about. And plus, you want to be on the winning side of those.
Cuonzo, I know on this team has been a part of the Mizzou KU rivalry. DeJuan was part of that brush up with
Yes.
Kansas State and Kansas. Has the approach with him this week been any different? Has the message to him been any different this week?
Play hard, be tough. I mean, that's what this is about. It's man, anytime you're talking rivalry, there'll be some dust kicked up somewhere. That's part. Of course, you don't want violence and anything malicious. You don't want that, but that's a part of these games because the energy level is so high, the intensity. I think that's what makes these games. And you have to embrace everything that goes with it. Again, we don't teach dirty. We don't do any of that. We want to play as hard as we can play. We want to compete. But I didn't say anything to him about it.
Cuonzo, yesterday when we were talking to everybody from Kansas, like it was brought up several times about how this is not a game you need to coach or preach effort because it already comes when you're playing a big rivalry game like this. Do you sense that from your team as well?
Well, I think one thing about our team, you're growing into who you are with so many new guys. But I think as a coach, if you have to coach and preach effort and competing, then you're a dead man walking anyway. I mean, I don't understand. You have to preach that. I mean, it's one thing game plan, how we get better here, make shots, do all that. But if you coaching effort and competing, That's not a very good program.
Cuonzo, do you know yet if you'll have Boogie available tomorrow?
Not yet. Not yet. So probably no as of right now. Yes.
We'll go ahead and take a question from Parker on Zoom.
Obviously, like the fog, what are the keys that handle using your crowd dictates the momentum throughout the year?
If you guys didn't hear, what are the keys in handling the fog's crowd and taking the crowd out of the game? I think simply, and we say it all the time as coaches, but I think I try to take it at a premium when you're playing road games, one possession at a time. Don't necessarily focus on the scoreboard. Focus on one possession at a time. That's one offensive possession. That's one defensive possession. Then they'll eventually add up. You don't necessarily need to look at the scoreboard. It's how you play on the floor, if you compete on the floor.
You guys can go ahead if you have any thoughts.
Cuonzo, do you know? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know Bill very well? I mean, you cross paths with the coaches for his cancer stuff. What you just thought of him?
Very well. Not like we hang out, but I got respect for Bill and what he's done for his program. We see each other on the road. We talk, yes. I've been knowing him probably, definitely since he's been at Illinois, yeah.
Coach, what do you think that is going to be the key for you guys offensively and defensively?
Oh, you got to answer that one. You got to make a shot. I mean, you could answer that one for me, but I think you have to make perimeter shots, and we have to continue to get in the paint. You're trying to get in that paint 50, 60 times. You're trying to get in that paint because that's where you put pressure. And then eventually it comes down to making perimeter shots. You don't have to make 15, 20 of them, but you got to make enough to keep them honest so you can continue to drive the basketball.
What do you want to see on defense as well?
Oh, just play hard. One thing you don't want on defense, you don't want live ball. Offensively, you don't want live ball turnovers that lead to easy baskets. You want to be able to set your defense. We set our defense, we'll be fine.
When you kind of look at past years of this rivalry, especially, the 2012 games, you had a lot of Kansas City kids on both sides, and kind of, some past players I was talking with, some were kind of talking about a lot of times this rivalry was kind of, Kansas City recruiting played into it in terms of trying to get kids, who are in the area watching the game that want to come to Mizzou and things like that. I mean, how do you think this plays in the Kansas City recruiting and kind of, where you guys are at as a program in terms of recruiting that area?
We'll see. I think it'll be important. But obviously people recruit all over the country, but I think it'll be important because, again, but more than that, it's really about winning the basketball game. Everything in our power to win the game. But I think it's important.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.